Hello, my name is Una and welcome to this week's Granny's Garden. Now this week I'm going to be answering a question, which is, can I regrow a tree from a stump? And there are three different answers. The first one is yes, the second one is no, and the third one is maybe. So let's go first with the no's. If your tree is a cone-bearing tree or a conifer, the answer is probably definitely no. If, on the other hand, your tree is deciduous, and at that a fast-growing deciduous like, say, an ash tree or a birch, 99% the answer is probably yes. And then, of course, you've got my maybe it depends. There are people who manage forests, and they do cut down oaks, but this is for generations to come. If I cut down an oak tree now and was going to wait for it to sprout and to be able to do something with those sprouts, we're probably talking about 50 years, half a century. So I would definitely not be around to see it. And maybe, with a bit of luck, my grandchild will be a middle-aged man and he'd get to see it. So certainly for garden purposes, for me, it's definitely a no, but it's possible. So how do I go about regrowing my tree from a stump? The answer lies in the ancient art of coppicing. In coppicing, what they do is they cut down the trunk, leaving a stump, or a stool as it's called in coppicing. Now this sends the tree into an absolute panic mode. Suddenly the tree finds that it's got no branches and no leaves. And if a tree has no leaves, it can't carry out photosynthesis and therefore the plant can't feed itself. However, the tree does have an extensive root system, and this root system contains nutrients. And the tree, in its panic mode, gets all these nutrients to gather strength and pushes up the growth of a whole crown of water sprouts. In coppicing, this crown of water sprouts would be left to its own devices for a cycle of 3 to 4 years or 5 to 6 years, depending on the species of tree. Hazel, willow, birch. And after that time, these trunks would be cut down, making larger stools that again would sprout water sprouts, and the cycle would begin all over again. So what do they do with the wood that they've harvested? Well, it could be used as firewood, to make wattle fences, to weave wicker baskets, or even what's fashionable nowadays, these little woven fences around vegetable patches. However, in my particular case, all I want to do is stage one. All I want to do is to cut down that trunk, leave the stump, and get that first crown of water sprouts. So what we're going to do now is get up and head down the garden and see what needs to be done. This is the tree in question. Now the first thing is an identification would be a help. Some sort of maple. I think it might be a silver maple. If anybody can help out with the identification, I'd be most grateful. It's definitely got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lobes, very deep indentations. And the back is a light colour, very light, almost like a silvery colour, which is the reason I'm saying it's a silver maple. It might not be, but anyway, if anybody knows out there, please leave it in the comment section. But getting in nice and close, you'll see here is what the stump of the tree that was cut a month ago. And around it, in a circle shape, you will see the sprouts shooting out. Now you'll see here, below the leaf, here's where it inserts into the trunk, and it comes out, first of all, straight and then angles up and starts growing vertically up. It's twisting now because of the weight. Now I have an added problem here. The area it's in is on quite a bit of an embankment here. Now the difference between my neighbour's garden and my garden is close on 2 metres. So one of the reasons I didn't want to take this tree out was the fact that its established root system is actually holding the soil in place and lessening the risk of erosion. Now, because of the steepness of this hill, what I can't do is take one of the ones that are coming out of the front part. I'd like it around here so you can see it. Because with the steepness of the hill, instead of coming out and at about 2 centimetres start going vertically, the weight and the hill is actually making it go straight out. So if I let this grow into a tree, within about a year, the weight of it will just knock it onto the ground. So I'm going to have to look for a sprout that's uphill So I've got two possibilities. This is one, which I'm going to stake to help it keep it vertical. And this one is the second one. It's coming out of the side, but it is twisting nicely vertical. It's a very strong stem, very tall stem, and looks very healthy at the moment. So what I'm going to do is, to be on the safe side, I'm going to leave at least two for the moment. There'll be time enough in the future to take them out. So what I'm going to do now is get my secateurs and prune out all the water sprouts that I don't want, and just send all the nutrients into the remaining two. As you can see, both of these water sprouts, or the remaining water sprouts, have now been staked. The reason for this is that from the stool or the stump of the tree, first of all it comes out at an angle, and then it starts growing vertical, which means that it's pretty brittle and liable to break off until it gets more established and more woody, particularly if we're going to get any sort of storms. So I'm just staking it and clipping it there, and I'll leave those stakes in now for about one growing season, just keeping an eye on it. Now I won't have the two sprouts going on for a whole growing season. Probably within the next 2 to 3 months I'm going to make a decision on which one to leave, depending on the erosion aspect, on how vertical and how healthy they're looking, and then I'll continue on with one. If after giving it all this care it ends up and it dies anyway, or doesn't take, well, no harm done. I started this project of coppicing or regrowing from a stump because the tree, when I arrived 2.5 years ago, was in very, very bad shape. And in actual fact, of all the crown, only one single branch was giving out any sort of leaf at all. All the rest was just dead wood. So let's cut it down, let the water sprouts take over and see where it goes. After all, it's free, isn't it? I didn't pay any money for it. If Mother Nature decides to give me back a tree, that's absolutely grand by me. And if not, well, it only took me, 20 minutes to saw down the tree and 2 minutes to do some pruning. No problem there for me. Anyway, over the course of the next few months, I'm going to be giving you updates on the progress of our tree here, and if it was possible to save it or not. We can but hope, and we can but cross our fingers. Anyway. Well, that's basically it for this week. So if you have any comments, please leave them below. And if you do recognise this and it's not a silver maple, I would really appreciate it if you'd leave it in the comments as well. I'm all ears. So please join me next week, and if you have liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to join me every week, please subscribe. So for the moment, for this week, it's bye from me.